Welcome to Go Bucks. We are just a handful of days away from the national title game happening, and there seems to be quite a bit of rumors going on around here. Specifically, one about Quinn Ewers possibly getting a $6 million deal from a Big Ten team, and that could be Ohio State. We're not 100% sure, obviously, but it could be. I mean, that sounds like something the Buckeyes would do. But in any case, how's it going with you?
Doing all right. I'm just can't wait for this title game to get here, man. The only bad thing is after it's done, we don't have football for a long time, which is never good. But
I can tell in your voice that you've already won the game. Like the Buckeyes have already beaten Notre Dame, and you're already the national champion. I can sense that.
Not quite. But yeah, I mean, right now, it is kind of interesting to take a little break since we have about a week left till the game to just sort of make a few, like we're trying to get some transfer portal people. It seems like we haven't been super active in the portal. We got like one defensive lineman from a small division school, and we did get the number one tight end in the portal, which I didn't think was a huge need. But I mean, we don't have like an elite receiving tight end on our team, but we do have pretty decent blocking tight ends. And, I didn't think that was pretty low on my list of priorities. And then like I'm confident in our linemen that we have on defense, like Kenyatta Jackson and Caden Curry are probably going to be decent or good starters. But, they were considered the elite backups this year. And now we're going to have them starting next year potentially, but we don't know who their backups are going to be. So it's going to be tricky to see. Like I think we got two offensive tackles actually in the portal too. But I just think that offensive linemen we really need after this year. I just want to make sure we have plenty of offensive line depth. But anyway, back to the main transfer is potentially Quinn Ewers. So Beck got $4 million to play for Miami. So Quinn Ewers obviously is not going to stay at Texas for another year. I heard reports that he was going to be not even getting – a lot of scouts are saying he's not even going to go in the second round. So if he's going to be a third-round pick, it makes sense to take the $6 million and stay in college for another year, especially if he can get on a team and improve on the year that he had this year. An interesting thing about Texas is so they have a good offensive coordinator, but even though they had two offensive linemen that are supposed to go in the first round, like their left tackle is supposed to go in the top 10 or 15 picks, but the right tackle is supposed to be end of the first round. But he was sort of playing hurt in and out of games the last several weeks. I think he missed the game against Arizona State, and he came back against Ohio State, and he was the fish, and we were just going after him. He's like one of those things where you have like a twisted ankle, you're off for a week, and you come back because it's the Ohio State game, and he obviously, he was the one that gave up the game-winning scoop and score to Sawyer, but he also gave up multiple sacks in the game, like I think at least 3. So, you have a team like Texas who has these 2 first-rounders to tackle, but then Ohio State, like we have 2 first-rounders on the offensive line, but they're both hurt right now. So
they're both not going to be there next year if Quinn Ewers decides to go there.
Yeah. And then also we're losing our right tackle, and we're losing Donovan Jackson, who actually has been amazing since he went from left guard to left tackle. He hasn't given up any sacks, and I think only 1 pressure in the last 3 games and no quarterback hits. So he's been playing at a pretty elite level, at least in pass blocking. But he's going to be gone. So we're going to have 4 guard. We're going to have a center and 3 guards to play 2 guard positions. So we'll have good depth at guard, and I think we're hoping that those 2 tackles that we got in the portal are good enough. And then I guess our depth is just going to be the freshmen and sophomores, on the roster that haven't really had a chance to play yet, unless we get some more tackles in the transfer portal in the spring. But Quinn Ewers is thinking about Ohio. Like it was reported, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, and then maybe potentially another Big Ten team, because they said that multiple Big Ten teams, I think, had offered. I don't know if Oregon is going to go after him just because they already have
Dante
Moore, who they got last year, and he's not going to sit around for another year, I wouldn't think. But I would be curious to see, like, I mean, we're already, I'm assuming, paying Julian Sang a decent amount. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing that's frustrating about these contracts is you don't, every now and then they're reported on how much they're, like if they're in the portal, you hear a number that how much someone is going to be getting paid, right? But then if someone just signs with you just in their recruiting class, you don't necessarily see how much they're making. You can make assumptions. I mean, is saying already just to be the number one quarterback in last year's class, is he making over $1 million just to sit there this last year?
I don't know.
And then we're going to pay him, and then we're going to pay him another $1 million to sit next year.
Well, yeah, who knows what he's being paid, but the starter, like they get paid the most for sure, right? I mean, there's no question that a starter gets paid the most. So saying you're right, maybe he will just be happy to sit for another year, but man, that sounds crappy. Like it's almost like why even have Sayin on the team at this point if you're just going to portal over him another year, unless he's not as good as
Arch Manning sat for 2 years.
Yeah, that's a weird situation though. He's a Manning. He had like 3 senior Mannings that were basically saying you're gonna basically be old school. You're gonna go to a school like Texas, great school, great coach, and you're gonna sit until your turn is up.
Yeah.
When that is, that's when.
So maybe Ohio State can convince Sayin to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it just seems to me like I mean, obviously, the more experience you get, the better. But with Ewers, it just seems like he does not do well with pressure at all. I mean, when he has time, if he throws it quick, and if he has time to throw, he's really, really good. And he has a great arm, obviously, because he was rated as one of the highest prospects of all time. But when he has pressure, he just takes a sack, man. He doesn't throw it away.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he made a few great plays on the run, but I mean, he took a lot of sacks, and just especially that first half, it just seemed like he was really confused.
Yeah, but Ryan Day doesn't care. I mean, he basically likes his quarterbacks that way. I mean, wouldn't you say? I mean, he did go out and get the quarterback now. Why am I messing up?
Will Howard?
Yeah, Will Howard. And that was kind of out of character for him. That seemed almost like Chip Kelly had a hand in that. So maybe they won't get Ewers.
Yeah, and then the weird thing about Will Howard is we were expecting a running quarterback, and he has not been a running quarterback. Like he'll occasionally take the pull. Like he made the big 4th and 2. They gave him the quarterback run, but I mean, it's not like he was.
I got to throw
doing anything spectacular.
Sarkisian's goofy self decided to throw on the goal line. He just like his cousin James Franklin. Yeah,
James Franklin is the worst. All these Penn State fans are happy right now.
Guys, it's Oregon. Yeah, it could be Oregon. That sounds like a very Oregon thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, we were I was talking with random people on X today about just which teams are doing the best in the portal area, and it seems like the top playoff teams are almost exclusively getting their roster from just regular recruiting and supplementing it with a few key pieces. Like Ohio State just grabbed a few pieces like Caleb Downs and Seth McLaughlin and Judkins, right? And this year anyway. I mean, last year we got Igmanosin and our left tackle, but those guys were not great when we got them. Like after a year in the program, they turned into really good players. Whereas you have these teams like Ole Miss and Colorado and Oregon and all these teams they're getting like 20 to 30 people in the portal every year, and Ohio State's getting 6 to 8, and even Michigan's not even getting that many. But most of these other teams, like these, that's why it's interesting. Like you look at the starters on Oregon this year. I think it was something like 18 or 17 of 18 out of the 22 were all portal players. I mean, it's just it's an insane amount. Whereas like right now, the number of starters that we have from the portal this year is our quarterback, our running back who splits time, and our safety. And then, then one of our corners was a transfer from last year. That's almost the entire roster. It's just from our recruits. And so the majority of the money that we spent was based on retaining talent so they wouldn't go to the NFL. And it seems like Penn State did the same thing. It seems like Notre Dame did the same thing. And, a lot of these top teams are not getting a huge amount of portal people. So it remains to be seen if you can, success. I mean, A&M is the one that first started this, right? Like they were paying players like crazy. And then they ended up losing them like a year later. They had like the highest rated recruiting class of all time. And then they lost like half of them like in the next 2 years. So it remains to be seen like how many people, if anyone can do it, it's Oregon, because they're just, getting the best players at every position. The number one quarterback, the number one offensive lineman, the number one receiver. They're just like getting all the best players out of the transfer portal. And, interesting to see if they can actually pull out a title ever. I mean, they still have 0 titles.
Very true. And like, so getting back to Quinn, would you want him? I mean, I'm seeing some of the comments here, like Antoine's like, why would you pay Quinn? He dipped in Ohio State with a bag, money to Texas. Ryan saying he prefer a mobile quarterback. I mean, at this point, you'd take Quinn though, right? Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, of course. So I mean, here's the thing.
Senior. I mean, he has
a ton of experience, and so really, I mean, there was not like bad blood. Like, so he only came to Ohio State, or primarily came to Ohio State, was because he couldn't get NIL while in Texas, because Texas had a rule against it at the time. Ohio didn't, so he came to Ohio State because it was one of the better schools that also allowed him to get NIL. He got a national contract. It's not like we were paying him. It was like through kombucha or something. Got $1 million contract allegedly, and then after a year, he didn't want to sit another year behind CJ Stroud, so he went back to Texas. And so we got a couple years of starting, and now that he's experienced, and had his growing pains under Texas's, now he'll have experience, and he can come for his last year and play at Ohio State. So, I mean, no matter how good Sayan is, like the odds of somebody just coming in as a first-time starter with hardly any reps, even as a 5-star, and just running the table and going to win the national title is, in my opinion, it's got to be super slim. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I think in the transfer portal era and NIL era, the teams that have the most veteran teams, just like, Ohio State this year, we have like all these guys that are like, seniors and super seniors, just like Michigan had last year, and like the teams that have like these players that have just been around for a while, those are the ones that are going to be winning. I mean, I think it's going to be, you're going to have an insane talent to be able to, like you're going to need a Tua to be able to come in. And even he only played like half of the title game, right? He didn't start the whole year. And he was, one of the best quarterbacks ever to play for Alabama. And he didn't even start until halfway through the title game. So like, what are the odds of saying? I would say like the one thing is our schedule is really easy next year, aside from our opening game against Texas, that, that game, losing that doesn't really matter. And then you can have like the whole year for him to get experience and then just be ready to go by the playoffs. So it's possible, but I still don't know if a first-year starter is going to have enough experience in the portal area where you're going to have like a Beck and a Ewers that have all this experience, even if they do have some shortcomings. Like I think you would take the shortcoming to have a guy who has 2 years of starting experience plus
like
a year
3 years. It seems like almost.
Well, he had
or is it 2 years total?
Because his first year he didn't play at Ohio State, and then he had his sophomore year and junior year he started for Texas, and then so this would be his senior year, so this would be year 3 of starting. I mean, so we'd have like 1 year under Day and 2 years under Sarkisian. So I mean, to me, that's a lot of experience.
I think this is his 3rd year at Texas.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because the first year they lost to Bama, remember, at Texas, and that was his first year at Texas. He was. I
thought he was in the 2021 class.
No,
so he was in 4 years class.
Yeah, but remember, he lost at Bama when he started. Remember, at Texas, lost to Bama. Then they went to Bama and beat Jalen Milroe. Wait,
that was
okay. No, maybe it is 3. Yeah, maybe
last year.
Is.
Yeah. 2021 at Ohio. Yeah, 2021 at Ohio State, and then
this is his 3rd year starting at Texas.
No.
Yes, because he played Bama twice, and this was 2 years ago. It wasn't this year.
No.
Remember they beat Bama at Bama?
That was last year. Yes,
that was last year, and then the previous year he started at Texas and played Bama when they had what's his name, the quarterback that's playing for South.
Yeah, that was his first year starting.
Yeah, so this is his third year at Texas.
Okay.
I mean, he redshirted at Ohio State, so he's obviously got one more year of eligibility.
So redshirt in what's 2021? So 2020 was a redshirt?
So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I would take Ewers selfishly if I was Ohio State. And who cares if Julian Sain doesn't work out, because you've got Tavian St. Clair there too, right? And so then whatever happens with Julian happens. But now you've got Tavian ready to go in his second year after Ewers is gone. So that would actually be a good situation for Ohio State. But I got to ask, like, when is Ohio, like, think of all of these top quarterbacks that Ohio State has gotten, like, since CJ Stroud has been there. Like, I mean, who do you've got? You've got the kid that's playing in
Nebraska. Mean since Ryan Day got there?
No, not even that. I mean, just since CJ Stroud was there. I mean, you got the kid that's playing at Nebraska. What's his name?
Dylan
names
Raiola.
are escaping me. Yeah, Raiola.
he transferred. He was at Ohio State. Well, he's going to sign with Ohio State. Then he was going to sign with Georgia. Yeah. Then he signed with Nebraska.
At Ewers. Then you got Julian Sayin. Then you got the one kid who just transferred out. I don't think he was a 5-star. He was a really, really high 4-star. And then now you've got Tavian St. Clair and possibly Ewers. That's just a crazy amount of players to get to Ohio State or commit to Ohio State and never play.
Transferred.
Or transfer or something.
He's lucky. It's sort of like receiver. Every year you're getting multiple 5-stars usually.
It's not usually how the quarterback situation works out.
Well, I mean, he's able to do it every year, like getting 1 or 2 5-stars a year, or a 5-star and a 4-star. I mean,
if Ewers really did go to Ohio State, then Julian Sain would probably never start. Maybe. I mean, he would have to.
The next year it'd be him and Tavian St. Clair, whoever's better.
And if Tavian's as good as his recruiting ranking, he's probably not going to. Julian's probably going to have to transfer. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can never go by the recruiting rankings. Like a lot of times, like the number 3 or 4 guy is better than the number 1 or 2 guy. Like that's why you get as many of them as you can, because you don't know which one's going to pan out.
I guess so. I
mean, Ewers was supposed to be the number one of the top 5 prospects of all time, and he's been above average, very good, but not elite by any means.
Yeah. I mean, my gosh, that's hilarious. Well, I mean, there's a lot of other rumors out there going on. Like there's the Ewers one, and then I think I just sent you the one about Ryan Day, and there's an article out there about him possibly going to the Dallas Cowboys. And
I saw at least 5 different ones today. So we have Deion Sanders, Witten, the tight end, who's coaches high school football and is a broadcaster, and they're like, oh yeah, Jason Witten is going to coach the Cowboys. And Deion Sanders and Ryan Day now is going to coach the Cowboys. And then Marcus Freeman is going to coach. What was he linked to? Like the Raiders or something?
Yeah, maybe. I'm reading some of these comments. That's pretty awesome. He is a statue in the pocket. Just like the one we sent to Syracuse. Exactly. Yeah. There's one other guy that started. He's the only other quarterback, 5-star quarterback that Ohio State recruited. Started for Ryan Day.
Yeah.
It's just nuts, and because then you just portaled over the other guys and got the quarterback we have now, Will Howard. But yeah, I mean, there are some other ones. But before we jump into that, please subscribe to the channel. We greatly appreciate that. Please share. Definitely want to keep growing this channel, and appreciate you all for doing that. But yeah, and another thing, I think this is actually happening, is Wink Martindale is interviewing with the Atlanta Falcons, which actually kind of sucks. I thought that was going to happen because he wasn't going to be very good earlier in the season. It's because
your defense wasn't very good. It was just weird because all your guys were healthy and he wasn't doing a good job yet. It took him half the year to get going. But now, the second half of the season, he was really elite. So, I mean, you guys haven't been keeping your coordinators very long, have you?
No,
every year or so.
If you have coordinators that want to go to the NFL or coordinators that do really well, then they move on. That's what happens. We've been pretty lucky with ours. I mean, Jim Knowles has been there for a while. Brian Hartline's been there for a while. That's the big one. That's why I'm really worried. Obviously
you take what you can if you can win a national title. But if you do, like, does Chip Kelly want to be a head coach again? Because his excuse when he left UCLA was he was tired of dealing with the NIL stuff and he just wanted to coach football again and, call offensive plays and not have to deal with the other stuff. So was that honest, or did he just do that because he wanted that as an excuse to like rehab his image and do a good job somewhere and then get a head coach job somewhere else? I mean, we don't know
Yeah.
what his plan is.
Yeah, that's so true. And Antoine, your candidate, Coach Klink, he was awesome. He was an awesome coach for Michigan. He coached the DBs. He was awesome. And he went, he's with the Chargers now under Jesse Minter. And so I think they've been rumored he's going to be a head coach at some point. So he may not even, so I guess maybe there'll be some shakeup at the Chargers. But yeah, if he comes back, hopefully there's not something attached to him with this whole Michigan Connor Stallions thing that I think is not going to be very much at all. We can talk about that on another show, but because I think that's
lack of institutional control, not a big deal.
Yeah, I don't think that's okay. But in any case, yeah, I mean, I think so. Let's go back to Ryan Day, because you're seeing it. It's such a huge deal to win the national title. I mean, you know how hard it is. Even you have great coaches like Urban Meyer did it once at Ohio State. That was 10 years ago. It's just really, unless you're Nick Saban, it's really, really hard to win the national championship game. And especially now when you've got this extended playoff system. So if Ryan Day was going to go to the NFL, this would be the year to do it. I would say you're going to know whether you're going to have Ryan Day for a long time or not. If Ohio State wins a national title and he comes back, then he wants to be there and he's not leaving.
Or like we said previously, it could just be that he wants to be here for just 2 more years until his son graduates high school.
I don't think his son in high school is necessarily going to matter that much. I mean, that doesn't seem like any coaches really care about that. When they get an awesome job that they want, they just take their kids. I mean, heck, people move their kids out of high school all the time. I don't think he's going to if he wants the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I mean, for instance,
sorry, I can't come because my kid's in high school.
I heard that Tom Allen left Penn State to go to Clemson to be closer to his kids there. I guess he has kids that are in college closer there anyway to Clemson. So, I mean, you don't know whatever his priorities are. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, very true.
I mean, I guess we'll find out.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? The thing is, good point, Antoine, because Ohio State, they better win.
You guys have a new quarterback next year.
Game. What's that?
So we're either going to be going up against the Fresno State quarterback or a true freshman. And over on DraftKings, they have Michigan's over-under on the season at 8.5 wins.
I would have taken either one of those guys this year over the quarterbacks we had and beat Ohio State. And now we get you guys at home. So I don't think it's getting any easier. I mean, this team coming up, we just beat Bama with a defense that was pretty depleted. I don't know what Ohio State's going to look like next year, but it's not going to look anything like it is this year. Ohio State's getting a whole different team. I mean, it's going to have to be completely reanalyzed once we know who the starters are. So, and Michigan's going to have a really good chance.
We're going to have a ton of offensive starters back. It's just on defense, we are losing a lot.
Yeah. How many guys are you losing?
On our defensive line, all 4. At linebacker, Cody Simon, and we really only played 2 linebackers. So Sonny Styles is a junior, so we don't know if he's coming back or not. So we could lose both linebackers, but definitely one. And then in the secondary, we're going to lose Ransom, Hancock, and Burke. So we're going to return. Matthews, who's just as good as Burke, and then Gnosin is going to return. So we'll have 2 really good corners and Caleb Downs, and then at safety we're going to need to find another safety, and then so secondary is going to at least be strong. And then we have good backup defensive ends with Curry and Kenyatta Jackson.
New quarterback, so an offense. You have a new quarterback, and you're losing at least one wide receiver. You're losing Ibuka.
Yeah.
And offensive line, I think you're losing at least 3, right?
So we're losing our both tackles, and then so we're going to have a center and 3 guards to play. Three guards that have started for 2 guard positions. So we're going to have 4 returning offensive linemen, which will be really good. And then the 2 tackles we got from the transfer portal. So the entire offensive line is going to have plenty of starting experience. Interesting.
Very interesting. All right. Well, we talked about Quinn. I hope you guys get him, because I don't think he's gonna. Well, I don't think I hope you guys get him. I actually want to see Julian Sayin. I want to see Ohio State actually go to a new quarterback that's not portaled in or just really old and sucky. I actually want to see Julian Sayin play.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I think most Buckeyes would probably prefer to have the new 5-star guy, but I think it's always good to have an extra veteran in there, and it doesn't mean that. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like that would be the safer pick, but Quinn Ewers was going. He looked bad going up against one of the best defenses in the country. So, but he did have a decent amount of interceptions this year. Also had some injury problems. I don't know. It's just he'd be a good experienced quarterback. I just don't know if it's worth the money, but we don't know how Julian Sayin is progressing behind the scenes. Yeah, and the other thing I was gonna ask is when
Ryan Day doesn't play him either. I mean, you would never know, because he's in the 3rd string and gets no playing time as a freshman. So it's almost like Ryan Day is like handicapping himself and Sayin by not giving him some live reps, like while they're actually out there where the bullets are flying and the game is in question. Just giving him a little bit, and maybe he can't handle it yet. Maybe that's the issue.
Well,
Same thing with Michigan.
We were putting Brown was getting all the backup snaps. That's the problem, because it was like all or nothing this year, because this was a national title team, so we weren't concerned about that. But it's been a problem throughout his time coaching in Ohio State. Part of it happens when you have like a guy like CJ Stroud, where even though we're having blowouts where someone could come in, whether it's Haskins or whether it's CJ Stroud or whether it's Justin Fields, like we leave in the starting quarterback too long because we're trying to put up big stats to get him to win the Heisman. That's pretty much it.
Well, we'll see what happens, but let's wrap it up here. Thanks, everyone. Thanks. Appreciate your time. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Matt, have a good one, and we will talk soon. I'm sure we'll be talking about the national title game, our scores, what's going to happen, how many points is Notre Dame going to upset Ohio State by. That's going to be my pick, I think. In any case, take it easy, everyone, and go blue.
Go Bucks.